Grand opening, grand closing.
What's up, my friends, my family, my fellow gamers? Your only friend is YouTube Street Porter77, back with another video. It's interesting how 2024 is panning out. What was supposed to be the year of Xbox comeback, the juggernaut, the money they spent, the billions in purchase and acquisitions, all was supposed to culminate into a fantastic 2024. And then coupled with the fanboy BS and nonsense that nobody buy games on PlayStation, I know, absolute nonsense, that they're forced to put their stuff on PC, they can't keep up with AAA development, they're behind the times. Everything was supposed to go well for Xbox and everything was supposed to go wrong for PlayStation. And yet, lo and behold, it's PlayStation that's having the exclusives in the games and really setting up 2024, putting it on its back. While on Xbox, it is so bad. It is such a disaster of this platform that now the conversation of publishers potentially not even bothering making games for Xbox Series consoles is now being in question. Sales are so bad that at this point it's not even worth the porting costs to put games, right? Let's listen to Digital Foundry as they talk about this topic and provide a little bit of detail.
VGC is reporting that some third-party publishers are considering dropping Xbox support due to quote-unquote flatlining performance in Europe, with claims that producing a Series S and X version of a game isn't worth the effort. What do you make of this? Is Series S really that much of a pain to develop for? With development costs increasing, you would think publishers would want to release on more platforms, not fewer. Oliver, thoughts on this?
What's insane? 2024, and now we're seeing that the Xbox Series S was such a stupid idea, absolutely dumb, insane, nonsense, just straight Riri, the whole little Timmy, and shut up. It was stupid. It was stupid creating the Series S because that becomes the baseline. And then what do you do with the Series X? And now consoles aren't meant to have different configurations for developers to figure out. In fact, if anything, that was one of the benefits of console, is one configuration. That's one of the things that they kind of loved about the console, is just one configuration, easy to learn. They could try to max it out. But Microsoft comes up with this stupid ass proposition of Series S, and they swore the only difference was going to be resolution. Absolute lies, and now they're paying for it.
Yeah, I think the size of the market is just smaller, and it's not helpful that it's more complicated to develop for, and it's also not helpful that there are, two units out in the market right now. One of them is significantly compromised. The Series S, from all that I've heard, is a really challenging system to work with for some, especially higher-end games. I also think that Xbox customers are used to Game Pass, and they're used to the free models in a way that PlayStation customers maybe aren't, and that does condition them to spend less money on discrete games. I think ultimately the question would be, on the financial side, what percentage of your audience is on Xbox? Is it 25%? Is it 15%? Is it 10%? And then also the size of your project, right? Like if you're looking at a big, heavy-hitting game like Call of Duty, of course, it's going to be worth it to ship that on everything because the margins are, the amount of volume you're getting is so huge. But for an indie game, like what we're seeing recently with some developers that are choosing not to publish on Xbox, they have a fairly small market of players anyways, and maybe those players already own a PlayStation or a PC that could play it, and maybe it's just not worthwhile for them to ship a smaller game on an Xbox platform with all the additional costs that would incur. So I think it's a question of just the market economics of what makes sense there. And I think, unfortunately, those don't favor a console manufacturer with a smaller place in the market where, 90% or 80% of the sales, from what I've seen, might be on other platforms. It just doesn't favor you in that.
The crazy part is, this is stuff I said 3 years ago. Like, 1, your console's not selling. 2, the audience that did bother to buy the console, most of them don't want to buy games because they literally bought it for Game Pass. Literally, the point of Game Pass is to not buy games. You get all the games come to you for $15 a month. So where is the room for the game sales? And the majority of industries don't put their games on Game Pass. They're not going to put their games they want on Game Pass. They expect sales. The majority of the industry is still an a la carte sales-based industry. And Xbox platform doesn't encourage that. That's why you always see the multiplat split between Xbox and PlayStation 3 is always like 80%, 70%, 90% on PlayStation. Like the split is absolutely ridiculous. And then these guys has the nerve to think that PlayStation one day is going to do the same thing like Xbox and just go full third party and put games on Xbox. Absolutely insane. The logic, like you guys are on fentanyl and somehow surviving it. It's absolutely insane what you guys are thinking. Third party don't even trust Xbox at this point. In fact, Xbox don't even trust Xbox, which is why they're putting their games on PlayStation. Absolutely insane.
Position.
John?
Yeah, that's it's a real tricky one, and it's hard to really speak without seeing the numbers directly, right? But obviously, developers do have to make these choices, and I think it's just going to depend on the potential size of what the game is. Like, I think
it's not really hard. What it is you guys don't want to go all out and just say the quiet part out loud because you might hurt feelings. Because that's the thing about this generation. Really, this whole social media stuff. Yeah, many dudes are all about the feelings. You just want to hear shit that makes you feel good. You don't want to hear truth. You don't want to hear facts. You don't want to hear shit that actually makes you more knowledgeable and smarter. You want shit that makes you feel good because, I don't know, there's some level of fragility, weakness that is crazy. Like right now, like telling the truth, speaking facts to educate is a bad thing. So he's like, man, this is kind of hard. No, it's not hard. Xbox is selling like dog shit, right? So you don't have a lot of people who own an Xbox to begin with, one. And then number two, those who do have it, they don't buy games because they got Game Pass. Not hard. It's pretty simple. Microsoft has not encouraged an environment to have the console flourish. Microsoft has not put the console at the forefront of the gaming strategy. It has always lagged behind with everything else. Hell, Microsoft put more effort into creating refrigerators and toasters than to put their Xbox as the main thing. It's ridiculous. So they even created commercials. Microsoft created commercials using their own first-party games to tell people no console required. Clearly, they're not talking about PlayStation, Nintendo. They're talking about their own shit. How you advertise to people not to buy your own shit? Insane.
for big games, it still makes sense to absolutely ship on Xbox. But for smaller indie stuff, smaller games, I think the question.
Shit, even that part. Like, to what level big game? Grand Theft Auto 6? Okay. Call of Duty? Okay. But what about, like, the mid-level AA games and stuff like that? Is it still worth to put on Xbox when maybe you might get 9% of the sales on Xbox, 50-something on PlayStation, 40-something on PC? Like, is that 9% really worth something? I don't know. You know, at what percentage does a AAA, AA game really need from Xbox to justify the cost? It's absolutely crazy. Now, obviously, the super big titles, you know, clearly, Grand Theft Auto 6, people will buy that. Even the Game Pass gamers will buy that. That's just a title too big. Call of Duty is just a title too big and stuff like that. But a brand new AAA IP, who knows? Like, how well did Dragon's Dogma 2 actually do on Xbox? You know, was it worth the cost? Interesting.
Rises a lot. If you don't have like a Game Pass deal lined up, I feel like the amount of work required to get it up on Xbox may not be worth it if the sales are too low. And I have heard stories of indie games that have sold like literally in like the dozens of units on Xbox, like very low numbers, where you're just like, oh, I probably shouldn't have bothered doing that. But I think that's just like an indie thing. Whereas for like larger games, I think it still makes sense, right? Like there's still a big audience there. It's not like the system has, a tiny audience to address. There's still millions and millions of these things out there. I mean, games were still being made for the GameCube when that was under 10 million compared to like the juggernaut that was PS2, right? And it's not nearly that kind of situation here. The Xbox.
No, but the cost of the games a lot more. You got to think about that. See, they're not flowing, right? It's amazing how we pick and choose when to use the cost of games in AAA development. So let me get this straight. Here, you know what? Let me get this straight. Teach me something. AAA gaming is in trouble because of the big bloated development budgets, but not that much that you can still consider putting the games on Xbox, even though nobody has the motherfucker. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. Is these big overblown budgets still relevant? You know, is Xbox still relevant in the world of big budgets, right? Is there enough people to say, yeah, they sell just enough to cover the cost of big trouble? PlayStation 5 is over 50 million, and that's not enough. So what the hell is Xbox gonna do? If PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 5 consistently start selling, it's selling shit tons, month after month after month after month, right? That console's another 100+ million selling console. That's not enough, but Xbox is. This is the nonsense that I'm talking about. Make it make sense. How is making games for Xbox still worth it with barely anybody, while at the same time everybody's saying a console that will clearly reach 100+ million? Oh yeah, that's not enough for the big budget. That's unsustainable. So how is supporting Xbox sustainable when it sells like shit? Somebody explain that to me. I need answers, son.
Still, I mean, I'd still say the series has largely been a success, right? Like a moderate success.
Y'all disgusting. Y'all just placating. You just don't want to hurt feelings. You don't want to lose subscribers. Wrap this shit up. This is absolute nonsense. Absolute nonsense, right? PlayStation's not enough, but Xbox is a success with what? Even Microsoft don't even trust its own Xbox. That's why they're putting the games on PlayStation. Like, what success? Holy shit, this is asinine. Asinine in the gaming community. Dudes are so scared to say the quiet part out loud. Dudes are so scared to tell the truth due to feelings. Feelings are taking over all this shit. This shit's no longer about facts, information, and, you know, straight to your nose truth. Forget about that shit. Everything's going to be based on the sensitivity and the fragility of people. That's it. Because it doesn't make sense to go out and say, you know, to one platform that is selling like Blockbuster is unsustainable. You can't keep it. You got to put on more platform. But then one of the platforms that sells like shit, hardly anyone has. And then the few people that have it don't even buy games. Oh yeah, it's a success for game sales. It's just got to be. What?
It's difficult to tell.
Even he don't believe that. Look at his face. He don't even believe his own bullshit. They don't know what to do. How about just preach the goddamn truth? Call it what it is. Can men be men once again? Make men great again. Just say the quiet part out loud. Why are we placating and worrying about the fragility? This is absolute nonsense.
At this point, there's so many negative headlines coming out about flatlining hardware sales. But when you look at the Xbox platform more holistically, it's really difficult to say because obviously we're in a kind of transition point in terms of business models. I mean, it often gets sort of mooted that the Xbox ecosystem has more active players than it ever has, but that's because obviously a lot of it is going to be Game Pass PC, possibly. So it's really difficult to sort of put a yardstick on success. Certainly on the console side, though.
All right, here. It's difficult to put a yardstick on success. Here. I'm going to help you out, Did You Find? I want you to do this. I want you to go back to 2020, look at all your videos and all your guesses and whatever, you understand what I'm saying? All the things you thought was going to happen for the gen, And then ask yourself, did it come true? Or your predictions, that is the word. Go back, look at your own shit in 2020 and ask yourself, did any of that happen? If the answer is yes, then yes, it's a success. If everything you guys said in 2020 prediction, success for Xbox and all the stuff you said that was gonna, you foresee Xbox doing this, doing that, all that stuff. If you can say yes, all that stuff we said, then yeah, it's success. But if you look at your shit and you're like, holy shit, none of that happened, then it's not a success. It failed. What you guys are trying to do is you're trying to adopt Microsoft's transition. Microsoft's transition because their strategy failed. So that's what you got to do. You got to pivot. Like in French, pivot. You got to pivot. You can't go on the same track. They pivoted because the direction they originally planned failed. Didn't work. Microsoft, it failed so bad. The failure was so exceptional. I mean, that's the word I gotta use. It was exceptional failure. Like, it was such fantastic. Like, the disaster and failure of Xbox was just tremendously fantastic. That's how awe-inspiring this failure was. It was such a monumental failure that they couldn't even write out the rest of the gen like they did with the Xbox One. At least with the Xbox One, they wrote out the gen. They even gave you a mid-gen refresh. They even tried to get the power narrative back. But this gen has been such a monumental failure. I'm talking like even the designer of the Titanic wouldn't have done something this bad. That's how bad this gen is, that the Titanic designer would be like, ooh, Phil, you really screwed that shit up. That's how screwed this gen is. It is so bad that Microsoft can't even write out this gen and let it sunset and then implement all this stuff next gen. They couldn't even let you enjoy Activision exclusives and all this stuff. Not even that. That's how much of a monumental failure this gen has been for Xbox. It is incredible, right? Incredible. It just blows my mind. And then they have the nerve to talk about PlayStation. That was blowing it out the water. Even Jim Ryan, as he tips his hat off, he says, hey, I'm dipping, but before I go, I'm gonna let you know this is about to be the most successful PlayStation we ever had. I'm out. That's how he left. Unbelievable. But at this point, hey, I invite you to watch the rest of the stuff on Digital Foundry. Watch the rest because, I'm not going to post the whole content. I don't think that's right. But I think we heard more than enough. Number one, Xbox monumental failure. And the community adapted to it. These Xbox content creators, they were jocking. They were on literally the jock straps of Xbox console. Jock straps. Sway. All up in the jock strap. Riding that console hard, talking all that shit with VRS and RDNA and all ray tracing cores and ray trace 60 FPS, all this bullshit. They were jocking that console hard. They even had the nerve to compare that Series shit with the PS5. Because the Series X was just so far beyond that the real battle was PS5 and Series S. And Series S has the better CPU. Man, shut up with this nonsense. But the nerve of this, right? And now look, those same content creators who swore they would never get a PC, never. Because they're not PC gamers, they're console gamers. And they want the best version of multiplats. They're on PC. They don't even acknowledge the console. The brand is called Xbox. It's the box, and they don't even acknowledge it. It's insane how they just pulled a St. Peter and ignored Jesus 3 times. It's crazy what these dudes have done. They have completely just, ew, I don't know him. They're all about the PC. Ooh, Xbox for me is I could play anywhere I want. The crazy part is these dumbasses still got their videos on their channel from 2020. It's crazy. Oh my God. Anyway, you guys let me know what the hell's going on. Let's stand by for when the Pro comes out. When that Pro drops, it's going to be mayhem. Listen, that's a separate video. But the PS5 Pro is going to be mayhem, especially if Sony says, you know what, we're not going to make the same mistake we did with the PS4 Pro. We're going to go hard, and you're going to see a difference. And if that mid-gen refresh, if that PS5 Pro actually does what it's meant to do, oh my God, it's gonna be mayhem. There's gonna be just insane. Oh my God, it's gonna be like freaking oh my God, I can't even think of a word to think. It's gonna be mayhem, insanity, coping, seething. Like, it's gonna be like the Purge. You're gonna hear the alarm. It's just gonna be insane. There's just gonna be blood in the streets. Cause yo, if that Pro delivers and people are like, oh shit, that Pro's what's up, there's gonna be salt from all four corners of the earth, from every community. PC gamers are gonna cry, Xbox gamers are gonna cry, Nintendo gamers are gonna cry, Apple gamers are gonna cry. There's just gonna be mass amount of, listen, I might as well just build an ark. I'm the new Noah. I'm just gonna build the ark, and then PlayStation guys just come on board, because the tears are just gonna flood the earth. It's gonna be ridiculous. Anyway, you let me know what you think. This is your only friend in these YouTube streets, Porter77, and yo, I'm out of here. You guys take care. Peace.
Grand opening, grand closing.